Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm going to say a few words about this evening's performances. Hopefully you're going to listen, and whoever finishes first, please raise your hands. I'm going to start by thanking you for coming for an evening of tolerance and friendship and Eastern Europeans, genuine Eastern Europeans, performances containing genuine Eastern Europeans. The whole idea of this event came to our mind maybe 2 or 3 months ago while we were talking about how difficult it is to, as a Romanian, to get your work permit. You have to apply for the work permit, go through UK border agency and all that hustle. And then I was speaking with my colleague Joanna and Dana, one of the performers, and we were actually laughing about the whole situation and all these awkward moments that we had to experience in order to become a legal immigrant in the UK. And afterwards we said it would be so good if we could bring Dana's performance and Boyana's performance, Eastern Europeans for Dummies at RCC, and then they said, why don't we also invite some English people to do a performance about Eastern Europeans to understand their take on this matter. And I said, yeah, I think it's a really good idea. This is how a new thought came into account, and they were so kind to accept our invitation. And afterwards we were thinking, well, how should we name this? And we thought we used the visual identity of UK Border Agency, as you've seen on the posters and the leaflets and everything that maybe you came across. And then we thought, wouldn't it be brilliant if UK Border Agency would use the slogan, "No one belongs here more than you," instead of whatever boring slogan that they had, from becoming a very restrictive institution to become a very welcoming one. Of course, we thought with this evening to reinforce the value of laughter as a weapon to deal with attitudes some people have regarding Eastern Europeans and prefer to conceal behind an awkward smile. I hope you will enjoy this evening's performance. We'll start with On the Line by a new thought. Afterwards we'll have a short break, and after the break we'll have Eastern Europeans for Dummies, and I know that there are going to be a lot of tongue-in-cheek moments, and afterwards I hope you will smile and you will feel very good about the whole evening, and you will enjoy a glass of wine with us and some pretzels from Deli Twist. So thank you.
Reputation, change a young girl's dreams, and force a man to get a bit overzealous with a couple of bricks. Now, before I get into the stories, I just wanted to read out the article in question. Hugh, would you mind? It is, after all, your penmanship.
It's not mine exactly, but be my guest.
Article of May 3rd, 2012, titled Immigration Invasion. 50% of Britain will be Eastern European by 2018. If you were today a true British citizen, you cannot deny the overwhelming threat of mainland Europe to our green and pleasant land. It feels like today I turn a corner and I'm faced with 20 Polish women popping out children in the hospitals I pay for, putting their sprogs through schools funded by my father's pension. Recent surveys show that the population of Poland has decreased by 98%, leaving the city of Krakow with a population of less than 300. Another online survey revealed that many Slovakians have turned down jobs as doctors, research scientists and brain surgeons in favour of pickpocketing on the streets of Westminster. Immigration is affecting the whole country, including our children being held back at school by young Romanians failing to pay attention in classes such as English, with 87% of Eastern Europeans aged 6 to 18 holding the attitude that why should they bother learning English, because England will be a Romanian-speaking country by the time they finish schooling. England is no longer England. We all need to do our part and put ourselves and our children first. Or what comes next? A Polish doctor? Now is the time to act, Britain. Your country needs you, not them. Wowzers! Oh, that's quite the article. Any initial reactions?
Disgusting.
See, for me, I find it offensive. I may not be Romanian, but
It's not your turn yet, honey. Okay?
Sorry, it's Emma, not Honey.
Oh, she's very excited, but it's not your turn yet, honey. Okay?
Green, yes, let's hear from a man who read a fabricated
I'm
article.
not fabricating.
Who read a fabricated article and through what I can only assume as racist reasoning decided
Well, I'm
to
not
build
a racist.
Well, that's exactly what a racist would say.
Well, obviously.
Tom, could I request of you a calm and intelligible debate? You've got GCSEs, right? Just tell us, what's your drama?
Right. Well, it's very simple. No complex scheming and lies like these two.
Oh, I don't know.
I read the article in the paper and I was alarmed. Rightly so.
Indeed, it's troublesome stuff.
I felt I and my town were at risk for several equally valid reasons. Reasons I don't have to go into now. I felt it my duty as a young, healthy British citizen to protect my land from the foreigners.
Oh, do we say foreigners?
Whatever you fancy. I felt it my duty to keep them out, so I turned my head to the history books. Because, well, lest we forget.
Amen. Amen.
Avoid religion there, please, guys, okay?
Well, we can't. Because I've heard that Polish Catholic churches are now popping up all over the nation's capital, which, as an English Catholic, I cannot abide.
I agree.
So do I, but that's not
I'm
the point.
sorry,
so.
can we give him a fair platform? Tom, please go on.
Oh, she's changed her tune. Means
So, I'm in the history books. With my background being in construction, I decided to build a brick wall that would encompass my village and part of the woodland area, with a gate on either side for entry and exit.
Oh, building yourself a fort of sorts.
The theory being having a guard on each side to keep out anyone of foreign descent, to ensure that our town was not touched by the, what was it?
Immigration invasion.
Immigration invasion. The wall's original design did include several small flaps and doors for cats and badgers, etc. But then a man well respected within the village suggested that some of the smaller, less well-fed Eastern Europeans found a way of creeping in. So we just sealed it all up.
Sorry, smaller, less well-fed Eastern Europeans creeping in through a cat flap.
I would not put it past them.
Yeah, sneaky fuckers.
Tom, this must have taken quite a lot to undertake. How do you find the funds to build such a wall?
Well, I already work in construction, so I had a lot of the know-how. My mother was also feeling threatened, decided to remortgage the house. And I did keep down a lot of the cost for the build.
Such as?
I didn't want to scrimp on bricks, cement and barbed wire.
Barbed wire? So you built yourself a jail?
A jail of British freedom! I didn't want to scrimp on those things because, well, the thicker the walls, the longer they're out for.
Good thinking.
Sorry, did they know what they were building?
No, we had to keep it a secret just in case they put some flaps in for themselves.
So what did you tell them it was for?
Endangered species of fox living within the town. We were saving them from the lions that live in the Surrey Hills.
Jeremy Clarkson.
Way, humour.
Tom, tell me, did you get on with your builders?
Yeah, lovely bunch of men. Good laugh. Hard workers.
Then why the wall? A multicultural society is nothing to fear. I mean, what you have in your life is only going to be added to and enriched. I mean, immigration really is such a beautiful thing.
You really are so boring.
I just feel like Tom's not thought this through properly.
Okay.
Tom, so you've actually built this wall
We're 3/4 of the way done.
and you managed to get planning permission.
Of course. I just showed the article to the district council. They sped it through the departments in a day.
And here's me trying to get a conservatory built on my London townhouse and getting nowhere.
What's the borough?
It's Chelsea.
Oh yeah, they can be difficult. If you promise to use any British workers, you'll get permission in like 24 hours.
Or, I don't know, just tell them you'll use it as a home for your whips to use on immigrants and disabled people.
Whoa, way too far.
So that's how a modern liberal thinks nowadays, is it?
Modern liberals, eh? Well, speaking of poor and lazy, Emma, it's time to take a look at the facts. So these are the facts as they appear in the article. Now, clearly there is dispute as to the truthfulness behind
Well,
them.
there is no truth behind them.
Says the girl who researched them.
If they were not true, then why did you give them to me?
Well, I gave you the facts, yes, and then you completely changed them.
Well, See, that's the one. Number 3 that really bothers me. Now, I'm no geography teacher, but if Krakow is a city, surely it should have a population of at least 500 plus.
You'd expect.
But no, they're cramming into coaches to come over here to steal our jobs, our education, our healthcare, competing in Britain's Got Talent.
You really will just believe anything you read, won't you?
No foreigners. Not in my town. No thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Group discussion. We've asked our viewers to send in via email any questions or queries they have for the panel to answer. We've had an overwhelming response, majority of questions aimed for Hugh, unsurprisingly.
That makes sense.
Indeed. Even though Hugh is the one the public wish to hear from, I am keen to get all perspectives. Let's see if we can get an intelligent discussion going. See if the woman can keep hold of her emotions.
I have a hold of
You're a mess, love!
My maid can be the same. She always gets emotional when we talk pay cuts. Oh, my husband lost his job. Please, my children.
Hilarious.
You not hear yourself.
Questions. First is for Hugh from Nancy in Hastings. Nancy is a stay-at-home mum, and she says during the last 10 years, 2 Eastern European families have moved into her neighbourhoods
Oh, I'm
and
sorry to
have
hear that.
fitted into life in Hastings very well. The children all play together and the parents all socialise well. She says that she finds articles such as The World of Newses entirely false, and it appears to her that the statistics are plucked out of thin air and are designed to enforce race hate. Strong words from Nancy there. Hugh?
Strong words indeed. Of course, I don't know the full situation, but on the surface of it, I would assume that Nancy's an incredibly liberal woman. She probably feels comfortable breastfeeding in public and insists on walking her children to school instead of the far more convenient mode of private car. Now, bearing this in mind, Nancy has failed to remember that the statistics printed are to be treated not as a reflection of society today. You know, it may be 2 families now, but you can blink and by hell it's 10.
I'm never.
See, that to me is yet another fabricated fact. I mean, a blink and it's 10. Nancy, to me, is an example that Britain's attitude is welcoming a multicultural society. I mean, and Nancy's a stay-at-home mother, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, well, she's going to see firsthand how beneficial it is for her children to learn about another culture from peers. It's music to my ears that she's able to see and ignore the phony statistics. And I have to say, I must agree with what I said before, that these people and their opinions do incite race hate. I mean, just look at the gentleman sitting across from me.
There's a gentleman sitting to your right. There's a boy sitting across from you.
It's very
Oh, come on, mate.
I'm not your mate.
Oh, Thomas, okay. Oh, look here. This one is from Sky in Bristol. Sky asks, why are you such a racist? Great question from Sky there.
Why are you called Sky?
I'm guessing her father has as long hair as her mother. So moving on. Tom, another one for you. This one is from Gary in Coventry. He says he read about your build and would like you to, he'd like to invite you to his next EDL rally as a speaker.
Sorry, I just want to point out here that I think the EDL is a disgusting group of
As
people.
disgusting as you and your friends listen to Sandy Tom, I wish I was a punk rocker with flowers in my hair.
Look, I don't want to join them.
That surprises me, Tom.
Well, I'm not a Nazi.
You've literally drawn the Führer on your water bottle.
That's just a coincidence.
I just find you so offensive.
Who have I offended?
Are you serious?
As a heart attack.
Well, for one thing, pretty much anyone of Eastern European descent.
Good job they don't have feelings then.
How do you get to be this way? I mean, who reads a crappy little article, gets their mum to remortgage their house so that they can build the fucking Great Wall of China around
Can
their
we
town?
mind our language, please? There's people here who can actually understand what you're saying.
Look, I take what I read seriously.
And on behalf of the whole team at the World of News, I would like to say thank you.
So you want to thank him for what?
For being a loyal reader and for giving us something to write about in tomorrow's news.
It's all about the next big scandal for you, isn't it? All money and no morals.
Well, when you have money...
Do you not think about the impact that your stories might have? I mean, it can't all be about material possessions and Rolls Royces.
Simmer down, Black Beauty.
Look, I just think here that...
Well, don't. Tom, I have here some research my team has done on you, and it turns out this isn't the first time you've taken what's written a bit too seriously. So I'm just going to read through the scenarios, and if you can just give me a very simple true or false.
Alright?
Great. First one, the Sun once printed that Al-Qaeda used the game Call of Duty in training programs and you bought an Xbox and said game and played non-stop for 2 months so, and I quote, you could play the ragheads at their own game.
True.
Great. You read an article printed in the World of News a year before you took over that stated that Hungarian women had been eating our pets, and as a reaction to that, you killed your own dog by drowning it in the bathtub and buried it in a safe in your garden.
Look, that's a more dignified death than being turned into a stew on some Jippo campsite. But true.
Great. You read an article printed by a local paper to you saying that the rise in population is slowly killing us all, and as a precaution you left your house with a machete and stabbed all pregnant women in the stomach.
False. Just the ones that don't show their hair in public.
How are you not in jail?
Cells are overcrowded, I think, though.
If I was in your town, I would campaign.
You'd
to
campaign for
everyone-
all the Eastern Europeans to come over here, cram onto our tiny island, take everything we have, so we could all grow our own fruit and veg and communally bathe.
Sounds like a paradise to me.
Right.
Look, are you embarrassed, or are you just another stupid racist?
Listen, number one, I'm not a racist. I'm not stupid. I'm intelligent and I'm decisive. Point number two, I'm building it. Alright? I didn't get some graduate in a fancy top to look it up for me. That's just it. Alright? What number am I on?
2 after you said you're intelligent, so number 3, please.
Right. Number 3, I'm building it. That's just it.
What is wrong with you?
Nothing. Look, you don't like what I'm doing. I don't like what you do. I've got more of a right to be angry at you and him, but what's the point? What do you want me to do?
Stop building your wall.
What about the immigration invasion?
There is no immigration invasion.
Isn't there?
What is wrong with you? Let's just all be thankful that Bob the Builder over here is just building a wall and not starting up some new kind of genocide.
Well, Dharma, Yakov, Piotr...
Sorry, who are they?
A couple protested, so there were a few losses.
Oh, this is live news and not George Agaya, thank God. 50% of Britain will be Eastern European by 2018. As a British journalist, I feel it is fully within my right to ask where the British public's common sense has gone. This is a British citizen. This is an Eastern European immigrant. Now the immigrant is here, look what happens. How do we come to this conclusion? Romanians are stealing our children and feeding them to the Polish. It's all there in black and white, that's a fact. Thank you to Hugh, Emma, Tom and the whole team here on the line. And as a final note, keep your children close. The Poles are hungry and the Romanians are sneaky. Till next time, on the line.
After the performance. So get ready, Eastern European For Dummies, in just a couple of seconds.
Hello, and welcome to Eastern Europeans For Dummies, an exhibition that puts together postmodern, quasi-smart and pretentious art and simple blunt problems of everyday living in the UK into a unique survival kit aimed at all those English men and women who are concerned, yet for some reason watch 10 o'clock live instead of proper news. The exhibition attempts to cover many kinds of Eastern Europeans, but if the intention had been to tell you everything you'd ever need to know about bumping into, handling, avoiding, feeding and or housing and training Bulgarians, Romanians, Czechs, Slovakians, Polish, not to mention all the former Yugoslavian nations, well, you can only imagine how long of a guide this would be. This is, instead, a starting point, a quick, up-to-date and to-the-point guide to basic cohabitation. For more detailed information about anything you might want to know, from ways to exploit to ways to deport, please contact your nearest branch of the Home Office or follow Theresa May on Twitter. What you are looking at right now are two experiments of the earlier mentioned species. At first glance, they have similar features, from clothes to poise to the confused look in their eyes. Perhaps you will find it easier to trace the specific differences between these two, which on a larger scale are also the differences between the specific countries. In order to do this, Exhibit 1. Blonde, she insists, or rather mousy brown hair and green eyes reveal a Scandinavian or German refugee. I know what you're thinking. Don't bother checking your maps. These countries sound more Scandinavian than Eastern European. This is the first lesson stroke tip in Eastern Europeanness. They will even camouflage their look to confuse you and pass as a first-class EU national. And the exhibit right in front of you managed to pull the trick even further, because after dismissing the first options, you then might think she is Polish. But on a closer look, the hunchback and working hands give away a typical Romanian. You've already preempted your reactions. It is true, she does not look like a gypsy. As we all know, they all come from Romania, just like the band the Gypsy Kings. However, she is influenced by the gypsy habits with which she grew up, such as hanging out laundry to dry on the balcony, collecting everything she finds in the streets, eating on buses, or yelling at the neighbour to stop using the water so she could take a shower. But we are already touching upon another level of Eastern Europeanness. Coming back to Romania and Romanianness, here are the main characteristics. Takes her shoes off when entering a home, wears slippers, collects bags, recyclable or not, in a grand bag of bags, moans about the appalling taste of vegetables and fruit in Western countries, complains about high prices, dirty streets, educational and governmental systems, speaks and understands all Latin languages, which comes in handy in all situations involving Italians, Spanish, French, Portuguese, and in some contexts, even Serbians, Bulgarians, and Poles. You could almost state that she is fluent in Eastern European. Moving on to Exhibit B, the Serbian. In many ways, EEs are like dogs. All dogs bark, bite, and need to be house-trained, but Chihuahuas are still quite different to pit bulls. So while you might notice that the Serb also takes her shoes off when entering your house and collects plastic bags, while forever remaining somewhat baffled by the concept of recycling, you should not miss the unmistakable characteristics that separate the savage Serb from the ridiculous Romanian. Serbia spent 500 years under the Ottoman Empire. Even in those days, Serbs were very proud of their country and heritage. However, this did not prevent them from regularly fornicating with the enemy. As a result, Serbs look different from most EEs, combining the pale Slavic skin with the pitch-black Middle Eastern hair. This peculiar characteristic makes them easy to recognize. You should also pay attention to their footwear. Serbs are very fond of Nike Air Max runners. They claim that as a nation from heaven, the popular national myth, Air Max lets them walk on air like they originally did. Serbs also immigrate to the West, but forever hold a tiny bit of resentment towards their new country. This usually stems from the humanitarian military actions taken against them. Kiss 3 times when greeting, passionately care about Euro song contests, call all cereals cornflakes, believe in the magic power of the draft, widely thought to be the #1 cause of death, put dollies on TVs, DVD players, and even home cinemas, have last names that end in itch, where ch is a letter unknown to other Europeans. Do not attempt to pronounce it, for Serbs will always tell you got it wrong. The biggest initial danger with Serbs lies in asking them where they are from. This usually results in them explaining the whole recent history of Yugoslavia. Whatever you do, never mention Kosovo, unless you're in the mood for a lesson in medieval history of the Balkans. If you get into trouble, do mention Sarajevo, as many immigrant Serbs walk around with a heavy baggage of national guilt. The conflict between Serbs and Romanians had been going on for a few decades. Do not imagine it was ever political or territorial. Quite on the contrary, these two countries had so little in common that they began to invent conflicts. Back in the day when Serbia was financially stable and boasting about it worldwide, Romania was dealing with serious difficulties. Hence, the Serbs started a series of rather malicious truisms directed to their neighbour. The first, "Don't be such a Romanian," refers to their extreme poor fashion sense. Well known for wearing socks with sandals or Adidas pants with elegant shoes, Romanians still have a lot to learn about fashion in general. After a couple of years, the tables turned for the two, and Romanians managed to stabilise their economy to the irritation of the Serbs. They also compare Romanians to Bulgarians, which even they know have nothing in common except the dirty beaches, and yet they cannot seem to refrain from this hilarious association. On the other hand, Romanians never had any nasty comments for the Serbs, since they were too busy making them for Hungarians, whom they consider nationalists, cunning thieves, and liars. Or perhaps because they never noticed the Serbs as their neighbours all along.
Tatăl nostru care ne științează științească să numele tău, fie împărăția ta, facă-se voia ta precum cele ca și pe Domnul. Pâinea noastră cea de toate zilele, dă-ne nouă astăzi și ne iartă două greșelile noastre, precum și ne iertăm greșelilor noștri. Amin.
Here is a series of stereotypical jokes that the two love to torture each other with. Jokes about Romanians. When does a dog get to eat a bone? When it breaks his own. Jokes about Serbians. How many Serbs does it take to change a light bulb? None. There's a blackout anyway. Romanians again. A carrot and a potato are running down the street, followed by a starving mob. They encounter a Wiener Schnitzel, who is calmly looking at the quarrel. Carrot: "Run, they'll eat you if they catch you," to which the Wiener Schnitzel replies, "Don't worry, they don't know me here." And finally, Serbians. How many Serbs does it take to change a light bulb? 2, one to shoot it and one to screw it in. As you have certainly noticed by now, the relationships between EEs are often convoluted and occasionally elude common sense and logic. It is therefore unfortunate that their feelings about other EE nations precisely reveal to which subspecies they belong. You will have to learn their animosities possibly by heart, otherwise you'll end up staring at their shoes for minutes at a time, trying to determine the brand and therefore the nationality. And no one wants that. For quick identification, discreetly shout names of EE countries and wait for an explosive reaction. Remember, Serbs hate Albanians and vice versa, Croatians Slovenians, Czechs Polish, Greeks Macedonians, Bulgarians hate Romanians, Romanians Hungarians, and Hungarians, well, they don't speak English anyway. While the human rights and other UN nonsense prevent us from firmly getting rid of EEs, there is nothing to say we cannot use them. Because of the relative value of the British pound and the corrupted and pitiful state of their home economy, EEs will work for next to nothing. You can trust them with a range of tasks, from tiling your bathroom to providing medical care. It is, however, important never to give them proper credit or make them feel equal. Employ the methods of the NHS, which for years imported Polish doctors to work over the weekends, while refusing to recognise their medical degrees as valid. Do so, and you will acquire a reliable, cheap workforce. Remember to hide any alcohol and to regularly remind them of their place in the food chain. One of the best EE qualities is that they will endure endless humiliation for fear of being sent back. You can therefore use them as a human stress release machine by employing the following methods. Make sure you remove all voodoo doll material first, and that they haven't taken any of your hair nail samples. Ridicule their accents, especially by invoking Bond villains, asking them to pronounce something beginning with the letter W, and pretending you don't understand them, speaking loudly and slowly when addressing them. For a more comic approach, make them recite tongue twisters. Refuse to pay them the promised and stroke, or make them work overtime for free. Offer serious, profound advice on settling in the UK. Suggest manual labour to a PhD or direct a fine artist to the Subway website. Pretend or admit you have no idea where they are from. Tell a Pole you once visited Prague and were impressed by the hotel that had both hot water and internet. It is important to remember EEs provide release after a stressful day only when molested. Never ask them for a relaxing back rub or a massage. EEs were not made with subtlety and tenderness in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you have all been waiting for. There is not enough space in the UK for the both of them, as there are not enough eats, pret-a-mangers or costas they could work in after gaining their omega purples. Eastern Europeans who do drama should be forbidden from the start, but this nation is respectful enough to give one of them a chance. Tonight, they will compete against each other for the UK residency. Please note that the questions have come from the mothership of Britishness itself, the Life in the UK test, assembled by our own Home Office. There is a list of questions with multiple choice answers. On the back of the chairs you will find attached your options. All you have to do is choose one of them. Again, all you need is on the back of the chair, not under the chair. Listen carefully to the questions, take a second to think it through, and display the answer. At the end of the race, you will hear the result. You are advised to remain calm, keep away from sharp objects, and refrain from cheating or peeping on your neighbour's option. Let us begin. Question number 1. A driving test held by a driver over 70 should be renewed: A. Every year. B. Every 5 years. C. Every 10 years. Two. What is a CRB check? A. A reference. B. A criminal records check for the police. C. Car history. Three. An international organisation working to prevent war and maintain peace is A. United Nations. B. NATO. C. Save the Children. 4. Where does Santa Claus come from? A. North Pole. B. Poland. C. Iceland. 5. What are the characteristics of civil servants? A. Friendliness and efficiency. B. Political neutrality and professionalism. C. Long holidays and quick service. 6. Consuming alcohol in large amounts on one occasion is called A. Binge drinking. B. Party drinking. C. Hard drinking. 7. Cocaine and heroin are A. Medicine. B. Names of famous hotels. C. Drugs. 8. Which word means a metal pot, usually with a lid for boiling or stewing? A depression left in a mass of glacial drift, formed by the melting of an isolated block of glacial ice, and to be cornered by the police on a bridge? A. Frying pan. B. Kettle. C. Pot. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our UK residency competition. I'm happy to say that we have a clear winner. Romania 2, Serbia 5. Say goodbye to our Romanian contestant, who was perhaps too busy visiting the job centre to integrate herself. Congratulations to our winner, who gets a special bonus question. 9. Which one of these countries is not part of the EU? A. Romania. B. Bulgaria. C. Serbia. Exactly. Thank you for playing and have a safe journey home. Before we leave, the thing we know you all came here for: Dracula and blood-sucking. It is true. The myth is finally unveiled. All Romanians are vampires. Make sure you always have either garlic or a cross in your bag to protect you from the bites, unless, of course, you fancy a taster. Please don't travel to Transylvania. Don't waste blood. Donate. Thank you for visiting our exciting exhibition. If you have found the information useful, please remember that we can only sustain ourselves through generous donations of kind people such as yourselves and the Daily Mail readers. We hope to see you again soon. Stay tuned for information on our next project, Second Generation Immigrants, the Minority Report.